Carson Williams is already living up to the prospect hype.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Rays podcast. Locked On Rays is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I am Kevin. Ulysses is not in today because he is traveling at the moment. But we are lifelong Rays fans who have been podcasting about these Tampa Bay Rays since 2019. On today's show, we'll discuss why the Rays have an uphill battle despite an impressive 3-game winning streak. In a few minutes, we'll prove why Junior Caminero is already one of the league's best sluggers. But to kick things off, we're diving into the impressive debut of Rays top prospect Carson Williams. But first, we have to tell you that this episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase is necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. So first of all, credit to the Tampa Bay Rays for winning 3 in a row. I wasn't sure that would happen this late in the season with everything that has gone on with prospect call-ups and injuries and all the other hijinks that is going on with this organization. They certainly have an uphill battle, which we'll get to in the third segment. But there are good vibes to go around. We will get to Junior Caminero, of course, but I do want to focus a little bit of attention on Carson Williams and how impressive he was, not just in his major league debut, but his last couple games with the Rays. It's almost like he belongs at the show, which it will be curious to watch and see if the Rays say, hey, he's doing so well, let's let him try to figure it out. Let's try to run this string for the rest of the season and get him legitimate MLB experience instead of just a cup of coffee, and see how things shake out in spring training 2026 and going into the 2026 season. But we've seen a little bit of everything from Carson Williams. We saw on Monday him going 2 for 5 with a 2 RBI double, hitting the ball the other way. And then in his impressive MLB debut on Friday, he reached on an error, singled in a run, and hit a clutch 2-run home run in the 7th inning after the Rays' once 6-run lead was cut to 1. That definitely helped the situation for the good guys there. And I know it's hyperbole, but everything I've read and everything that coaches in the organization is saying about Carson Williams, some of the compliments about him being selfless and being a team player and not being abrasive or a prima donna, especially as a multi-million-dollar first-round pick, and being drafted as an 18-year-old out of high school, it gives me Evan Longoria vibes, because I feel like Evan Longoria had the same type of maturity at such a young age. And that is the impression that I get from Carson Williams. And again, I am not trying to compare Carson Williams to Evan Longoria. Carson has a long way to go. Junior Caminero has a long way to go before we can talk about him on the podium of Tampa Bay Rays or Tampa Bay Devil Rays greats. But the way he carries himself and conducts himself shows to me that I think this guy has team leader written all over him. And now comes the part of, can he contribute and make meaningful contributions to this organization? Can he do what he's done in the minor leagues at the major league level? I think he can. And yes, there's going to be some ups and downs. Yes, there's going to be some missteps. Yes, there's going to be a learning curve. But in this call-up, in these last couple games, we've certainly seen flashes. And I will say, his stance in his swing, in his approach, does look a little Evan Longoria-esque. And again, not trying to compare him to Longo because that is blasphemy. Definitely, I would be getting a pushback or two from my co-host Ulysses. But I think we need to focus on a couple things with Carson Williams, and it can't be emphasized enough. Forget the strikeout rate, forget the batting average. Let's focus on the power. Let's focus on the speed. Let's focus on the soft hands at shortstop. Let's focus on the strong arm at shortstop. Let's focus on his positives versus his drawbacks. And I think what really could help him out in the long run, and a lot of people really don't focus on this or talk about this with Carson Williams, but he did struggle mightily in his first couple months in AAA. Whereas in his last 60 games at that level, he really elevated his gameplay. In his last 60 games in AAA, he hit 248 with 17 home runs and an 891 OPS. Strikeout rate was still high, but that's going to come with the territory. But I think the fact that even in AAA that he battled some adversity and had to figure some things out, I think that'll be positive for him at the major league level, because it's only a matter of time before somebody has to deal with something like that. And I am really excited to see what this player can become. Is he going to be Wander Franco? Is he as talented as Wander Franco? No. But I think down the line, at the end of the day, we're going to be looking at a solid 3.5 to 4 to 4.5 WAR player if the skills match up to the major league level. And again, AAA, there is a big gap between AAA to the majors, but it's not like everybody in AAA is a slouch. A lot of these pitchers, a lot of these guys that Carson Williams was facing, they're a little bit older. They're a little bit longer in the tooth. A lot of them have major league experience. And as a 21, 22-year-old, they can shut you down. They can shut you out. So I think there was a little bit of that with Carson Williams as he was making the move to AA and AAA, and he had to make some adjustments. And right now it's showing that it's starting to work. So I am really looking forward to the remainder of the season and the Carson Williams experiment going forward. I think that he is going to be a key piece in tandem with Junior Caminero, and it's really going to be something to watch. Those two guys, along with Jonathan Aranda and some of the others, they're the future, because Yandy Diaz isn't going to be a Ray forever. Brandon Lau isn't going to be a Ray forever. Now, the question is going forward, is Josh Loeb part of that future conversation? Or is Chandler Simpson part of that future conversation? Some of that remains to be seen. But I think the Rays will be in pretty good hands with a 1-2 punch of Junior and Carson Williams. And I really hope that the Rays can keep him up for as long as they can. And heck, with the Ha-Seong Kim injury and all the question marks surrounding him, I don't see why not. I know we had discussed it last week. We had argued a little bit back and forth between myself, Ulysses, and Evan Klosky on, hey, you got 35 games remaining, 35 or so games remaining. Let's roll out Carson Williams and see what he can do. If he flounders, he flounders, but at least it'll be a good experience for him going forward. But you really can't have a better start to your major league career than what Carson Williams has done so far. So hopefully he can keep it up going forward. All right, coming up next, Junior Caminero. This is a guy who basically at the same age as Carson Williams is making major sound waves across baseball. And he is already definitively one of the league's best sluggers.
It's that time, people. You got to fuel up and turn it up with 5-hour energy transfusion. Grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course. That's basically every night. That's what Kevin dreams about, that taste of that golf course. Yes, he does. And whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push for yourself to get through watching race baseball, well, guess what? 5-hour energy transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor that you love. So today. You have got to try this. So you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the U.S. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. It ends October 31st, 2025. Again, visit 5hewin.com.
Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. We appreciate it. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Well, I am recording a little bit later on a Monday here, and I was planning to talk about Junior Caminero hitting a grand slam for his 37th homer on Sunday, following a 4.5-hour rain delay, and that turned out to be the key separator in a 7-2 win on Sunday against the Cardinals. And then what does he do? Lo and behold, he just proves my argument even further. On Monday evening, he hits his 38th and 39th homers. So it's only a matter of time, I would presume, before he gets to 40. Can I get a little greedy here and say that maybe he can set the single season franchise record in homers as a 22-year-old, a just turned 22-year-old on July 5th? I believe that is Carlos Pena, who did it about 2 decades ago. I don't think it's that far out of the question, especially if he's having these multi-homer games. And what is amazing about Carson Williams, he's looking amazing right now too. But Junior Caminero on Monday, in Monday's game, he went 4 for 5, had 3 RBIs total. He has uplifted his batting average to 261 with an 847 OPS. But if you look at the lineup, he had virtually no protection. Who was batting after him? Josh Lowe, Jake Mangum, Hunter Fiducia. Not necessarily a murderer's row. It'd be one thing if Brandon Lau was batting behind Junior Caminero or Yandy Diaz was batting behind Junior Caminero. But no, for all intents and purposes, Junior Caminero is being left on a cleanup hitter's lineup. At least he was in Monday night's game. And what do you have to show for it? Yeah, I'm just going to go 4 for 5 with a couple dingers. And in addition to the homers, he is, I believe, 9th, or maybe he's moved up to 8th now in RBIs across the league with 94. And he is doing things that really in the last couple decades only Albert Pujols has done. A guy as young as him hitting home runs like this. And I know we've talked about it before, but it has to be emphasized. Junior Caminero is not just a one-trick pony with the homers. He's not just a pull-happy guy. If you look at his spray chart, he has a home run or 2 or 3 to pretty much every segment, every bullet point of an outfield. It just go look at Savant, go look at any website that shows his spray chart, and you got a bunch to left field, you got a bunch to center, you got a bunch to left center, you got a bunch to right center, you got a bunch to right field. So this man cannot be stopped. No matter the pitch, no matter the velocity, no matter the location, he has that 100th percentile bat speed that can get a ball out in a hurry. And what's so admirable about Junior Caminero is he has gotten better as the year has gone on. If you look at his numbers pre-All-Star break to post-All-Star break, I wouldn't necessarily say it's night and day because he had a really good pre-All-Star break. That's why he was named an All-Star and started the All-Star game as a then 21-year-old. But post-All-Star break, his OPS is like 130, 140 points higher. So usually, or I think it's not uncommon, I guess you could say, to see that, some of these younger players, they they tend to wear down a little bit. The grind of a major league season, the dog days of August, the travel, the quality of pitching even later in the season, it can get to them a little bit. And especially for a guy that played in the All-Star game, participated in the home run derby, not just participated, but was fantastic in the home run derby, finishing runner-up. The expectation or the thought was, yeah, he's going to have a little bit of a slide. He's going to go into some sort of slump. But we really haven't seen that since the end of the All-Star break. So that's why I'm going out on a limb and saying that I think and I hope and believe that he can break Carlos Pena's single season home run mark for the Tampa Bay Rays. And I mean, I don't know what more Junior Caminero has to do to show that he is already one of the league's best sluggers. We can already put him in the conversation as this guy can and is going to be a perennial 35 to 40 to 45 home run threat. I think year in and year out, assuming health, we're going to see him at the top of the leaderboard in home runs and RBIs. He's going to be up there with Ohtani. He's going to be up there with Raleigh. He's going to be up there with Schwarber and Aaron Judge and Eugenio Suarez and Juan Soto. He has more homers, like 7 more homers than Juan Soto. Let's compare their bank accounts. Juan Soto has him on the bank account, but Junior Caminero has him on the home run. So he is a guy that it's really, in my opinion, it's not too early to say that he is one of the game's best power hitters. And he is living up to the scouting reports that so oftentimes don't pan out or wrong, where, hey, he's got generational raw power. He has generational raw power to all fields. And what has he done it in the tender age of 22? He has shown and proven all that. And, we can talk about how he, needs to shore up the defense a little bit, although we've seen, I think, massive improvements since even the beginning of the season. We can talk about how he still grounds into double plays. The launch angle can be a little bit of an issue. He needs to draw more walks. Okay, that's fine. But you cannot negate the fact that at the end of the season, you're going to see a very, very impressive power marker in a very, very impressive OPS and OPS plus. And that is something that this franchise desperately needs. And I'm all for it. I think that, again, we have not seen a power hitter like this in the organization since Carlos Pena, and I guess to some extent Brandon Lau when he's healthy. But we are getting to the point where every time that Junior Caminero steps up to the plate, you almost have to assume that he's going to hit a home run if he makes decent enough contact with it. So even for his flaws, and with Junior, I don't even care if he eventually moves to first base and or becomes DH only because he outgrows those positions or doesn't have the movement skills anymore. As long as you keep giving me 40 and 100, I don't care what position you play. You don't have to play a position because that's the type of offense you need, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs. To one swing of the bat, you can change the complexion of a game. And we've seen that time and time again. And I will say for Junior and Carson, I think one thing that is helping those guys out, and really Carson, I think being able to see the success of Junior Caminero probably uplifts him a little bit. But just word of the wise, don't get behind in counts 0-2, 1-2, 2-2 to some of these major league pitchers. If you can find a pitch to drive at 0-0, 0-1, 1-1, 2-1, take the opportunity where you can, and good things can happen. And in Junior Caminero's case, they oftentimes have. All right. Despite the Rays' 3 straight wins, we got to be honest. The 2025 season is still an uphill battle. Well, August 26th, it's officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week 1 even kicks off, this is your moment. Maybe you want to go ahead and crown the Philadelphia Eagles as the champion in August. Well, you can do that with FanDuel. So go ahead and visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Rays podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right. We mentioned it. Solid 3 straight W's for the Rays. Probably the most impressive of them. Not necessarily what they did against Cleveland, but the fact that they weathered a record-long 4.5-hour rain delay to win on Sunday against the Cardinals. I believe the score was 7-2. I mean, is there any more evidence, just as an aside, is there any more evidence we need that if and when a new stadium arena comes to town for the Tampa Bay Rays, that at the very least it has to be indoor or covered, and more ideal, having it retractable? This time of year in Florida, clearly, obviously, it's the rainy season, and it's just not something that we can deal with. 4.5-hour rain delay. Man, I'll tell you what, I would not be sitting through that, even if it meant a guaranteed Rays win, because that is just crazy. And then the fact that, the Rays have to not only endure that, but they were probably hoping to get out of the ballpark relatively early on a day game, and in turn, it essentially becomes a night game, and you got to go from Tampa to Cleveland. So that is not helpful in the least. What's also not helpful is, even if you win a couple games in a row, you still have a lot of hurdles playoffs. We probably shouldn't even be having that conversation, but at least getting to be a 500 team or a game or two above 500. Last I checked, the playoff odds for the Rays to get the final wild card spot, there's a 2% chance for the Rays to do that. In other words, they have a 98% chance of not making the playoffs. Luckily, they can maybe build up some ground in facing the Guardians. That is one of the many teams that they are behind in the standings right now. But even that's no guarantee, because on Tuesday evening, you have Shane Baz, who's all over the place, going up against Parker Messick. And then on Wednesday's game, you have Drew Rasmussen, who hopefully can give you a strong outing going up against Slade Sassoni. Now, I will say the Guardians have one of, if not the worst team offense in all of baseball. But even if we were to go out on a limb and say the Rays would sweep the Guardians, okay, that notches them one spot up in the wild card chase. They still have to find a way to get over the Rangers, the Royals, and at least one more team. Put it this way, every team in playoff contention, or that would be a lock for the playoffs as of today, the Tigers, the Blue Jays, the Astros, the Red Sox, the Yankees, and the Mariners have at least 70 wins. The Rays have 64 right now. So they still have a lot of work to do. The first thing that they have to figure out is how to get back to 500. Once they get back to 500, then maybe we can have a little bit more in-depth conversation about the chances and possibilities of making the playoffs. But right now, I'm not ready to do that. I'm still a little bit, or a lot of bit, snake bitten by the fact that it wasn't but a handful of days ago that the Rays gave up a team record 9 home runs in that ugly, brutal, disastrous loss to the New York Yankees. So this is how a team like the Rays are, middling around 500. You're going to win a couple in a row. You're going to lose a couple in a row. It's one step forward, 2 steps back, maybe 2 steps forward, then 3 steps back. I think it's only a matter of time before the Rays will come back to earth. We'll see a couple losses in a row, and then they'll pretty much be in the same spot that they've been in the entirety of the season. Now, if they can win out the rest of the month, okay, sweep the Guardians, then sweep the Nationals on the road. We can have a more fluid conversation about that. But right now, again, I think reasonable people should put their foot down and say, no, this isn't a playoff team. Let's focus on what Junior Caminero can do. Let's focus on what Chandler Simpson can do. Let's focus on what Carson Williams can do. Let's focus on what some of these other call-ups like Ian Seymour and Brian Van Bell can do. Let's watch the players. Let's not necessarily see the results and the win-loss record, but how are these young players vibing and gelling and developing together? Because at the end of the day, we got to figure out who we are and what we are in 2026. But, you know, it is nice to win a couple games in a row. I'm trying to move on to football season. I've got fantasy football drafts out the wazoo. I got college football this weekend. Before we know it, the NFL regular season is going to start. And the Rays just keep slowly but surely pulling me back in. But hey, it's all sports. It's all part of the fun, right? All right. Thank you all for listening and enduring with me on this Solo Monday episode. I will promise you, myself and Ulysses and maybe some other guests will be back on the program together. But in the meantime, we appreciate you for listening. Thank you. Stay safe. And we will talk to you later on this week.